Welcome everyone to the Gorge Women in STEM Company Spotlight Series. My name is Leila Kaneda. I am your moderator tonight, and I am one of the women on the leadership team for Gorge Women in STEM. A little bit about us, Gorge Women in STEM, also known as GWIS, if you've heard that before, is a group founded towards the end of 2017 that focuses on connecting and supporting women working for STEM companies in the Columbia River Gorge. Coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic, we're focused on rebuilding our community and reminding women throughout the gorge that we're here to support them and help them thrive. A big part of that effort is expanding our online presence through Slack and social media. So remember to follow us on your favorite platform to engage with others in the community and stay up to date on the latest Gorge Women in STEM happenings. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Slack. This year, we are incredibly grateful to be sponsored by Overwatch Imaging and Sightline Applications, two companies in the Gorge Tech Alliance. Their support this year is helping fund events like this, as well as help with all of the foundational work and promotion we have going on in 2022. If you're wondering how to be like Sightline Applications or Overwatch and become a GWIS sponsor, feel free to send us an email at gwiz@crgta.org. Now, what we've all been waiting for, the Company Spotlight Series. This series is designed to feature different companies in the Gorge Tech Alliance through the lens of women who work at these companies. We believe that women play a critical role and provide a unique perspective in STEM companies, regardless of their position. And while we know that many companies value the diversity of thought they bring, there is still a lot of work to do to make sure women are fully supported and valued wherever they go. We are excited to start the conversation in the community so that we can celebrate our achievements and learn how we can grow. And what better way to do that than to hear from the women themselves? Tonight, we are featuring Sigma Design, a company out of Camas, Washington. Our panelists tonight are Erica Bogard, a business development manager, Lindsey Dotson, vice president of engineering and corporate functions, and Ashley Brown, a mechanical engineer. All three of our panelists and myself use the pronouns she and her. Thank you all so much for being here tonight with us. So let's start out by hearing from each of you about who you are. Tell us a little more about what your role is at Sigma Design, how long you've been with the company, and anything else you'd like to add. Lindsey, how about you go first?
Sure, I'd be happy to. My name is Lindsey, as Leila already let you know, and I am the VP of Engineering and Corporate Functions at Sigma Design. And what that means is I oversee our engineering department, finance department, and business technology teams. I have been with Sigma for a little over 9 years now. My background is computer engineering, and I worked as a firmware engineer for probably almost 20 years before I started working my way into the management area. Maybe it was a little less before I got roped into management, but that's me.
Great, thank you, Lindsey. How about Ashley?
Hello, I've been with Sigma for about 1.5 years now, so not too long. I have a background in mechanical engineering, and my job is a mechanical engineer. It's my title. I work with companies, with the clients. I design things that they need. I'm what you would hire to work with your company too. So.
Awesome, thank you, Ashley. And Erica.
Hi there, I'm Erica Bogard, Business Development Manager with Sigma Design. I've been with the company for going on 6 years in October. My primary role at Sigma is to stay engaged with our community, to leverage my networks and my business engagements to potentially generate business for Sigma, as well as develop networks for other businesses that I'm engaged with. In addition to being on the team of Sigma Design, I also serve on the board for the Gorge Technology Alliance, the GTA, as well as the Pacific Northwest Defense Coalition. So a lot of the things that Sigma does inherently is solve problems. So inherently, that's kind of what my background and what I like to help people do is solve problems. Sigma is a great outlet to solve many of those problems. But in the instance that we're not, I really strive to utilize my network to get people an answer if Sigma is not the one that's able to provide that. So it's a little bit about me.
Awesome. Thank you, Erica. And on that, maybe you can start us with our next question and tell us a little bit about Sigma Design. So what do you folks do over there?
Sure. So we consider our experts everything from concept through production. So whether that's someone coming to us with literally something on a napkin sketch that we kind of breathe life into with our industrial design team before we move into those detailed engineering phases with folks like Ashley and other members of our engineering team, ultimately looking to produce some type of prototype out of our fabrication shop. Once the shop has something that we can put in our customers' hands, we like to put that through some use case testing, as well as run that through a gamut of testing that we can perform in our lab, which is downtown Vancouver, Washington, right outside of our headquarters based in Camas. Once we've done some testing, we obviously are going to have some data and some client feedback as well, which sometimes will lead to a design iteration. Anyway, moving along that kind of design, iterate, test process, all the way into that manufacturing phase when you're ready to mass produce that final design product. There are a lot of different tools that we use in our toolbox to offer that full gamut of services, be that electrical engineering, shop work, testing, prototypes. But some folks just come to us for one of those tools. You don't have to use the full gamut of services. Again, we just seek to solve problems, and we can do that in a variety of ways. Been in business for 27 years. As I mentioned, headquarters in Camas. We also have a facility in Kirkland. Downtown Vancouver is our test location, and also have a location in Singapore. So a little bit about us.
Awesome. Lindsey or Ashley, do you have anything to add? Seemed pretty thorough.
Yes, Erica did a great job.
You asked the right one of us that question, Leila.
Great.
Yeah. This is her day job.
So Lindsey, then how would you best describe Sigma's company culture?
Great question. We have a set of core values that we live and breathe by, but in addition to that, I would probably describe our culture quite honestly as a little goofy. We have everything from farm animal slingshots that I like to fling at people. We have Nerf gun fights. We love a great barbecue. Generally, everyone has a really good sense of humor, which I think is awesome. One of our core values is to take time to laugh. Sometimes that laughter is to cover up an uncomfortable conversation, but most of the time it's just us having a good time at work and all joining in to solve those problems.
How about you, Ashley? How would you describe the company culture?
I think that is a really good representation of like our culture together, but I also think culture is like how you interact with each other in a professional way. And I really enjoy that Sigma Design is very supportive, and everyone that works there really uplifts the person beside them. Like we have a bunch of engineers that work there, and you can go any day and ask someone for 10 minutes of their time to help you out, and they will drop what they're doing and help you out, give a small design review if you need, or maybe I'm working on something that I'm not familiar with. I can go and ask. We have a little Zoom chat, be like, does anyone know about this one obscure design thing that I have never dealt with? And someone's like, yeah, me, I can help you out. So I think that is really important part of culture too, is like uplifting the people around you and making sure everyone feels comfortable and have the tools that they need to succeed in the job that they're in right now.
Yeah, and it sounds like in combination with what Lindsey was saying, you have both this higher level company support of having a good time and having a fun time at work, but also the support from the work side, right? Right, when you're not, hanging out, you're also able to do what you need to do, but learn and grow and support each other along the way. And that sounds really great. Erica, how about you?
I would definitely agree with what Lindsey and Ashley said. I don't have too much to add other than I think it's been really nice to see that culture try to kind of stabilize as we grow. Sigma experienced significant growth over the last few years, and our executive team, Lindsey among others, have done a really great job of making sure we keep that culture of helping each other out, leaning on each other, keeping that family-oriented mentality, continuing to still meet company-wide every Monday morning, despite however many employees we have. I think that's a really important thing to highlight. So.
Yeah, and you said that you've been going through rapid growth over the past 4 years to see that stabilize. So maybe what was one of the differences that you saw, a few years ago before you entered this rapid growth phase, that has maybe changed and gotten better, or just changed as you've grown?
I think one thing that comes to mind, and Lindsey might have a few examples too, is I know when we were in our old building, which is now our test lab, whenever somebody would start, they would go around and meet every person in the company. I don't think we've been able to do that for, some years now. So that's something that's changed, and obviously there's a little bit of bad in that, but that's also good too, right? That's just growing pains, right? We can't walk across the street to Seattle and meet everybody. So Lindsey, I don't know if you had other examples or thoughts that come to mind immediately about that.
Yeah, I mean, certainly what you said, everyone was on a first name basis, and you recognized every face and you knew all the names within one day because there were not that many of us. So that's certainly changed. I think the other thing that's changed a lot in my experience being at Sigma with the growth is we've had to start to be a little bit more, I don't know if structured in how we do things. So we've had to start putting together processes and things like that to orchestrate and get work through the company, where before, when we were smaller, we were very fluid and very flexible because we knew each other, and we knew that, so-and-so over there, if I just kind of swung by their desk and say, hey, tag, you're it, I knew they knew what to do next. It's not quite that way anymore, right? So we've had to develop processes internally to the company on how to make those transitions, which has been, difficult for sure. And we're still, working through some of that and looking for opportunities to make some of those processes more efficient.
Cool, thank you. Let's move on to the next question. What are your favorite and least favorite parts about Sigma design? Ashley, how about you start?
My favorite part, I know we already talked about it, but it's definitely the culture. You have to go to work every day, and if it's not fun, if you're not surrounded by people that you like, then it's not going to be a fun time all the time. So definitely the people and the culture keep me wanting to work here. My least favorite part, that's a hard question to answer. Probably it's that we don't have a big female presence in my department, like the mechanical engineering department. I think we have 2 female mechanical engineers. So I would love to see that number grow. That's probably my least.
Yeah.
Me and I guess her are besties though.
And I guess on that note, you said you joined about a year and a half ago. Did the other female join recently too, or has she been there a long time?
She's been here for 5 years.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
So almost like right before that growth stage.
Yes.
That's really great. Erica, how about you? Favorite and least favorite parts?
I think my favorite thing is I get to engage with a lot of different people all the time. Because Sigma is very unique in that we don't serve one industry. So I could literally be talking to someone about a military application one day, and the next day be talking about a device that is going to be used by adults that are retiring, without going into too many specifics. So there's like a whole gamut of things that you might encounter on a daily basis that is continuing to challenge me and make me grow and force me to learn new things. I think at the same time, that's kind of my least favorite thing about it, believe it or not, because it's really hard to kind of get your feet and be an SME in any one specific thing. You have to learn to be dangerous in a lot of different areas and know who to lean on in different departments when you need to pull those folks in. Again, I think that comes with time, right? As Ashley said, we face a lot of random problems, so it's know who to go to get the answers and support you need to solve the problem and help the folks that we're engaging with. So
yeah, and when you're jumping around to different clients with different use cases, do you ever find that sometimes you really need to dive into a particular domain and almost become a domain novice before you can really start to find those experts and those people that you need to execute things, or is there usually somebody around that happens to know that domain really well?
Oddly enough, our customers are those SMEs and are the subject matter experts in what they're really, what they need to do. So we rely on them for that knowledge transfer, not just me initially, but all the folks, because they're the expert in this thing or whatever we're working on. But the challenges that are going to go into making the thing work is where we really shine and bring to the table how we've solved similar problems for similar things without revealing what the thing is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. So it's like you get to explore all these different areas, but then you get to shine in the thing that you're good at.
Exactly. Yeah. And letting them remain the SME and showing them and teaching them what we did to make their product work allows them to have that autonomy to continue in their space and continue to be the SME. And they just call on us when they have another problem. So.
That's great. And Lindsey, how about you? Favorite and least favorite part? Oh, we can't hear you, Lindsey. Are you muted? Or disconnected?
How about now?
Now I can.
Okay, my button there. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I unmuted on Zoom, but I touched the other one. I was saying mine is very similar to Erica's, actually. My least favorite and my favorite are one and the same, and it's one of our core values, actually, so it's quite ironic, and that is being adaptable. I love being adaptable in that I get to learn new things. I'm a lifelong learner. I love the opportunity to constantly be learning new technologies. However, as an engineer, I like things really well defined. And getting a brand new, I don't have to do this necessarily too much anymore because I'm not an individual contributor, but it was a constant struggle for me not knowing everything, right? So a customer would come in and they would have a brand new platform or chip that I've never used before, or maybe they wanted me to use a language that I've never programmed in, and that was terrifying, quite frankly, to learn that on the spot. But I loved it, and it exhilarated me because it gave me opportunities to constantly learn new technologies. So it's that adaptability that our customers need and require of us to be able to provide them the engineering services.
Yeah, and on that last point, when you were talking about how, quickly you have to be able to adapt to learn new technologies, that's something that I feel like I have to do a lot at my work too. Even being in a product-based company, we still have these new technologies and new things coming in or other customer requests. And it's like, how do we integrate with them? And yeah, it always feels like a fire hydrant sometimes, where it's just like, how many new things do you have to learn today?
Mm-hmm.
It's so much fun at the same time as it is very, very difficult.
Yes.
All right, let's pivot to the next question. What are some of your favorite benefits that Sigma offers? And maybe are there any specific benefits that support women? Erica, why don't you go first?
Well, it's a blessing and a curse, this benefit. I'm lucky in that I get to travel a lot for my job. For work, we're constantly going to trade shows, starting to expand into the international trade show space. So that aligns very well with my personal interest of traveling. But it also, I like to travel not just for work, but personally a lot. So the perk or benefit, if you will, of being able to work remotely for periods of time, as well as continue to contribute to the day-to-day and not get behind, as it's obviously critical as the first point of contact for a lot of inbound business, that I'm always available, even if I'm on vacation sometimes. So I really like that benefit. Specifically to me as a woman, I really find it appealing, especially since I'm single. I don't have a family, so those aspects do speak to me personally as a female, because it lets me get out there and kind of do things in that nature while I can, while also growing and expanding my career as an independent female woman in an ever-changing world. So I really appreciate that flexibility and that benefit that bill allows me in particular to take advantage of. Obviously, that doesn't work for everybody at my company, because something's got to make the actual thing. But for me personally, it's a great benefit.
Yeah, and just on that note, maybe what's your favorite place that you've traveled so far with Sigma?
With Sigma, it's really fun when we go over to Washington, D.C. every year. That's an annual conference. That city's always got a lot of hum and buzz about it in general, but showing up there consistently now for our 5th year in a row, it kind of feels like coming home. So it's very great to be able to go across the country and see, 50 to 60 companies from the Pacific Northwest represented, and feeling like you're walking into a local bar down the street at the same time. So it's a pretty unique thing that it continues to happen as we grow our network. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Ashley, how about you? What are some of your favorite benefits?
I definitely enjoy the flexibility also. I work from home mostly, but I can also go into the office whenever I want to, or if I need to. So if I have something to do at home, I'm getting something delivered, or if I'm just like not feeling well that day, like not well, but just don't want to go into the office. I can work from home just as easily, and with most of our, not all our clientele or our clients are local. So working with Zoom allows that flexibility to work with clients outside of the state of Washington. So that's really nice.
Yeah. And do you foresee that as something that you are wanting to kind of continue even as we transition either companies as more fully remote or back into the office? Like you enjoy that kind of hybrid remote?
Yeah, I think as long as the opportunity is there to continue working from home, that flexibility will be there. So I enjoy going to the office and seeing everyone. I love that environment. I'm an extrovert. I enjoy feeding off people, but I also do enjoy the flexibility of being home when I need to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And what about you, Lindsey?
For me, I think the benefit and what drew me to Sigma originally was really like work-life balance. That kind of goes along with flexibility, but taken it a little bit more extreme almost. I don't know that this is specific to women. Certainly a lot of women take advantage of it that have families, but I also know a lot of men that take advantage of it with, paternity leave, or they are active participants in raising their families. But it doesn't really even apply just to that. So the policy at Sigma is, if you need time to take care of life, take it. No questions asked. And if for some reason someone doesn't, check in the morning, we're the first person to call to be like, are you okay? Does something happen? So, we care about our employees and that work-life balance, and really allowing people to still take care of whatever needs to get taken care of. And that's really important to me for a variety of reasons.
Yeah. And I guess just to clarify, because it's become a more popular trend in STEM companies, does Sigma have unlimited PTO? Is that what you mean by ability to take it? Or more like you guys have time off, but if something comes up, like we understand and take care of what you need?
Yeah, we do not offer unlimited PTO or time off at this time, but we have some unusual or unique, I guess it is, methods in which we enable people to do that.
Great. That's really great, because I know often places like people can get nervous with unlimited PTO, but like you don't really need it as long as, like you say, you have the ability to use what you need and that flexibility. Yeah.
And we even have something that we call a PTO bank that we people donate to. And then so if one of our team members has a emergency and they don't have any enough to cover, we donate to them. We're like, take what you need. Here's extra, right? And I just did that for one of my employees the other day. He's been having a real hard time and having to burn all of his PTO to take care of some family matters, and he really needed a vacation. He had no time to take, and he was going to try and take it unpaid. And I said, no, that's silly. Here, have some. So gave him a week off and paid for it so he could decompress and come back and be refreshed.
That's such a fantastic idea. I don't think I've heard of a PTO donation bank before. I especially hear of like a lot of people who save up their PTO and they're like, oh, I guess I can't bank anymore. Like having the ability to do something like that would be huge and help someone else.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess a little bit on the culture side still before we talk more about the company itself. What's it like in your role, in your position, being a woman at Sigma? How do you feel? How do you interact with the folks around you? Do you notice anything? Ashley, why don't we start with you?
Sure. I haven't really noticed a lot of negativity in regards to this, which is a positive. Definitely, I'm often the only female on calls, the only female in groups, and that is a lot of times contributed to the fact that, you know, mechanical engineering is not a very well diverse field to begin with. But it's not really been noticeable in the way that people interact with me, which is refreshing. I know sometimes people will use language that isn't necessarily like demeaning, but it is less like they'll call me a girl instead of a woman where everyone else is a man. And I really don't think that that is prevalent here at all. And that's really nice. Oh, yes. So I feel that people uplift me a lot. I feel supported, especially when I'm working on a team of engineers with clients. I think the team members that I've worked with do a really good job of making sure that like I feel included and I know what's going on and I have support that I need to do my job well.
Great. Lindsey, how about you? What's it like being a woman up in higher level management?
Great question. It's a tad lonely, I'll be honest. I mean, I definitely feel supported, and the executive team at Sigma is great. But it's a little lonely. There aren't a lot of even women there's a few women in the area that I have befriended and, you know, that we meet and can, you know, speak frankly, but there aren't a lot. And so there's a smaller network for me to just reach out and be able to have a peer-to-peer conversation with, for sure. Certainly, like I said, I feel supported, but I also realize that I am definitely unique and don't always have the same opportunities presented to me than my male counterparts do. And that's not necessarily just at Sigma, it's kind of just in the tech world in general.
And when you say that, have you seen that like personally at other companies too, or more from like chatting with peers? Because we hear about that too, right? It's part of the push for getting more women into leadership overall is to help rectify that. But have you personally experienced it elsewhere?
Absolutely. So it's been a long road, but I've been in this, you know, for quite a few years, and prior companies that I worked with, again, very male dominated, were a little bit, and I spent a lot of time traveling to Asia for supporting builds, and that's another level of they have again a very different view of women and technology in Asia, so that's also been a struggle.
And I guess sorry, this is like a little side question for you based off of this, but if you were to, you know, do your career all over again, because you said you were an engineer and stuff before, would you have still chosen to go into this higher level management route?
I would have. Yeah, I think it's really important for more women to go this route and to start trying to break down those barriers and break down those silos and just show that we are as capable and competent and, quite frankly, maybe better at this job. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And Erica, what's it like being a woman more on the business development side?
So at Sigma in general, I feel pretty lucky. My team has a pretty solid amount of male and female counterparts. In my group of 4, 2 of us are women and 2 of us are male. So that's pretty even keel. It's a little different when I'm in the field for Sigma. It's very predominantly male. I have a pretty strong personality, so I can hold my own and get the attention of a room full of men when I need to. So it definitely doesn't scare me or intimidate me in any form. When I tend to get talked over, but the proof's kind of in the pudding. When they need something and it boils down to it, I'm the one that gets it for them, and then that relationship just develops over time, even though they might not see it initially. So that's where I see struggles in that kind of division, is more kind of in the field and getting people to trust me, and yes, I know what I'm talking about, and I will get your need, I promise, just let me know. And just gaining their trust might be a little harder sometimes, but in the end, like I said, the proof's in the pudding. So
Yeah. And when you're doing those and you're interacting with clients and things like that, when you're still trying to gain their trust, do you find that usually slows down the work that maybe you or your other counterparts at Sigma are trying to do? Like it becomes a bottleneck, or is it usually something that you can get through and establish pretty quick and move on?
I think in general, we have a very slow sales cycle, right? Because it's not like, sometimes it's just machine me apart and it's a couple $100. Other times it's, man, we're going to re-engineer something that you guys have been building for years and make it the next latest and greatest thing. And, it's a 6-figure price point. I definitely want to trust and have a relationship with you before we go in an engagement of that magnitude together. So I definitely see it as a long-term challenge in most instances, not a short-term one. But man, once you get past that initial hump, it's usually smooth sailing. Other things come into play, but that's usually pretty solidified once you do it right the first time and keep doing it right. So
Awesome. So let's get to today's theme. Today's theme is around working for a consulting company, as opposed to maybe more of a product-based company. And the three of you have touched on this a little bit in your previous answers when talking about Sigma and the culture and the work. But in your own words, how would you describe what a consulting company is? Maybe, assuming your crowd may or may not have ever had experience working in a consulting company. Lindsey, how about you go first?
Sure. I think the main difference is we don't make anything, which is hard for some people to wrap their brains around. Even when I was like, what do you mean you don't make a product? Well, we don't make anything. We sell our experience, we sell our intelligence, we sell our like I said, wide breadth of experience, which comes from all the individual engineers and contributors' background from where they came before, but also what we've collectively learned through all the different projects, which is a very different mindset than a product development company.
So then on that front, when you have a customer and they come to you, what are you selling them? Are you selling them like X amount of people with this expertise, or are you selling them a team of people to put together this project that you have?
Great question. And it could be either one. It really depends. I think Erica alluded to this earlier. We do anything between concept and production, and customers come to us with a wide range of needs. Sometimes they're in the middle of a project themselves, they have a tight deadline, and they realize they just need another mechanical engineer or another software engineer to get them to that milestone. We'll, put one of ours on site with them or work with them remotely to kind of get them to that next milestone, and then they come back to Sigma and they work on the next thing. Or alternatively, maybe a customer comes to us and says they have an idea, they have a proof of concept, and now they're ready to go take it to that next level. So they're ready to make it into an actual product and go through that whole product development life cycle from concept to how do you get it to production worthy. So we'll help them with that. We do, some test fixtures. Sometimes customers come to us, just ask us to fabricate a part for them in our shop, or do a testing on a piece of equipment that they've already designed. There's such a wide variety of different things. It really depends on what the customer comes to us for. So when we go on with a new customer, we kind of have to throw a broad net and just say, we can do it all. What do you need? And then we can dive in. And usually we might start a project or get in the door with a customer with a small job that's only to fabricate parts. And then they start to see, everything we can do, and then we start adding more capabilities to their needs.
Great. Erica, do you have anything to add about what a consulting company is?
Yeah, I mean, Joby always says this all the time. Joby is my boss. How does he put it? That we're in the butler business. You literally come to us and say, I want this to be 10 pounds lighter, please. Poof, go figure that out. Okay. That's a problem. That's a challenge that we try to solve. Or they come to us and say, this, control box cost X. We need you to redesign it and take X amount of it so that we can manufacture it cheaper. Okay, so we throw some folks on it to figure out, well, what components can we source differently to take down that cost? And I think helping our customers understand what the ask is, what is the minimal viable product that you need to get you to the next level? All of those things and learning how to do that dance is something in consulting that's very unique than just focusing and doing one specific thing or product line.
Yeah, I like that analogy of it being like a butler. It's almost like not necessarily like, customer service, but serving the customer, right? Like, what do you need and how do we make it happen? And having each of those projects as you pivot. Ashley, did you have anything to add?
For me, since I'm the one like working on the projects, it's like borrowing your friend's nice car, so I get to work on the car all the time. I get to drive the car, but I don't own the car. And I don't maybe have to deal with all the decisions behind the car. I just get to do my job. And that's cool.
Yeah. So it's almost like you don't have to worry about the maintenance. You just get to have fun, turn it back in, and don't break it.
Exactly. Yeah.
You guys are making consulting companies sound like a lot of fun.
It is.
So then working for a consulting company, often the customers you work with and the scope of work differ widely, right? As we've kind of talked about already in this panel a little bit. What common patterns do you notice coming up as you start working with new clients? Ashley, how about you, being on kind of the engineering side?
So since I'm still pretty new, I've only worked on 2 projects because I've been working on long-term projects. So
And
I don't know.
Really quick, what is long-term? 6 months? 3 months?
My first project was a little over a year.
Okay.
This project has been 3 months so far, 4 months, and it'll go till the end of the year.
Oh, cool.
So what I've been working on is just extra hands. People or companies, instead of hiring 5 new engineers to fill their team out while they had extra work, they will hire us to assist until that they don't need us anymore, kind of thing. So that was my first project. I think we had 5 mechanical engineers on the project and then even more other engineers. So we were working on that project until their internal team was able to free up to continue working on that product. So
cool. And from that point of view, do you find that when you get put on like hey, we're a team that needs just 5 extra engineers, does it almost feel like an internship where it's like you're isolated from the product and you're working on something kind of more standalone, or is it still feel like you're really integrated into what that whole team is actually doing?
Yeah, we were definitely integrated. So our team was working from initial concept, and we took that product all the way to the first production build at a plant in Asia. So we were really involved. We owned the product until we handed it back.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So it was really like they hired you as people, but it was your project, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
they
great.
adopted us into their company. We got email addresses with their company name on it and everything too. So we were definitely like in it.
Nice. Erica, how about you? Maybe what common patterns do you notice when you start working with new clients?
Mine, I think mine's probably unique to the other 2 ladies on here. I struggle a lot with customers to help them understand what they're asking me to do. So like, oh, I have this whiz bang idea, right? And just go make me a prototype so I can go get lots of money and go make millions of these, right? Well, they usually think that they're, the process is here and goes here. They usually think they're somewhere, at the end. Really, they haven't even started. They haven't proven out the most difficult part of the design. They have no funding. They haven't done any patent research. They don't know if they have any competition in the market. They're not even ready to even start designing something because they haven't even done their homework, essentially. So a lot of the times when I'm engaging with folks before they even get to Ashley, it's me helping them understand what they're asking, what the true requirements are, what is line of sight from where you're at to where you're looking to go, what's a realistic timeline for that, what's a realistic budget. And a lot of times we'll end up working with them just in a couple brainstorming sessions just to throw out a ROM. We think $500,000, because if that number scares them, then there's no need to pursue, quoting and all those additional phases that come along with the consulting engagement. So a lot of it is kind of gauging what they think they know that they obviously don't know, and just taking it as a point to educate them along the way. So that can be a challenge and a struggle. Whereas some people come in and know exactly what they want and have it all documented and bullet pointed, and sometimes that's scary too, because they contradict each other. But it's always fun, interesting how we tackle those different scenarios. So.
Yeah, very cool. And Lindsey, how about you? What patterns do you see when you start working with new clients, or teams start working with new clients, maybe?
I think the most common thing I see is just an underestimation of how much effort it's actually going to take. and a not a very good understanding, which is kind of maybe to Erica's point, of that product development life cycle. So, which goes hand in hand with how much time it takes. A lot of times people or, clients think it should only, how could it possibly take that long? You're just designing this little thing. Or you're writing a little bit of code. It can't possibly, I bought an Arduino on Amazon.com and wrote some code in 40 hours. What do you mean it's going to take you 6 months to make it into a product? So there's just a wide gap between a lot of our clients' ideas of how long it will take and how long it actually takes. And that's a pretty consistent theme we see from customer to customer.
And how do you usually, present that to the customers? Is it like, you detail what every, 10 hours or so is going to be doing? Or is it more like, hey, this is how we make these estimates and let me educate you on what this actually takes?
Yeah, great question. When they're a little bit more complicated, a lot of times what we'll do is what we kind of call like a phase 0 or a phase 1, and we spend time with our customer really understanding the requirements of what they're trying to come up with. And then we have a really frank conversation about trade-offs. Well, do you really want this? You're asking for this feature and it's going to cost you X amount. And they start to go, oh, never mind, take that feature off. And it really becomes a negotiation and a conversation, and talking also a lot about getting them that minimum viable product. So you don't need all the bells and whistles. Of course, everyone wants the bells and whistles on day one, but hey, let's get you to the market with minimum viable. And then you can add those later when you get some more funding or what have you.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so what are some of your favorite and least favorite parts of working for a consulting company? And this maybe will draw on the assumption that you have worked at a non-consulting company in the past. So if you have not, feel free to maybe not, or to let us know. But maybe what's some of the things you like and don't like about being at a consulting company? Lindsey, why don't we start with you?
I have worked at a product development company before I came to Sigma, so I do have a bit of a comparison, although what I don't like is similar in both places. In my product development company, it was the marketing team. The marketing team defined, what it is we were going to design, and now it's our customers that define what it is we're going to design. And in a service industry, the customer is typically always right. We can provide them our advice, and we're the SMEs and we can advise them, but ultimately they make the decisions. And there's times where we're like, oh, really? Are you sure you want to do that? But guess what? They're paying us to do the job, so we're going to do what they ask us to. And that's really hard. It was very hard for me when I was an individual contributor, because there were times where I just didn't think it was the right decision. But I also had to understand and respect that they knew. I'm sure they weren't telling me the whole story, right? They had other information and what was going to work for them and their company that I wasn't privy to. So you really have to trust the customer that they know what's right for them. But it's hard, for sure.
And then on the other end, what do you like about being a consulting company?
I came to Sigma intentionally to get more breadth in my expertise. So at the product development company I worked at, I spent almost 15 years working on the same product line. So I got to go really deep into the technology. I was able to, develop patents. It was an amazing experience, but I recognized that I was lacking any breadth in technology experience. And so that's really what I was seeking. And I have gotten that in spades at Sigma. I think before I even had my first day, I was officially hired, but I hadn't started yet. My manager at the time called me and asked me if I knew a particular programming language. And I said, nope, never programmed in that a day in my life. And he's like, great, well, that's your first project. And I said, great, I'll figure it out. So it was from day one, I've got to learn new things, and that's what I like.
Awesome. Erica, how about you? Least favorite things about being at a consulting company?
I think it's similar to Lindsey. It's just being able to work on a variety of things. My previous life, I actually worked for an organ transplant network. So I was immersed in where the best place was to go for certain types of organ transplants that you need. And while I would have done well at medical-based organ transplant trivia, it was very limited bank of knowledge that you were learning new, right? They're same place that does the best heart transplants 10 years ago still do the same best heart transplants today. So that data doesn't change very frequently, but convincing people to go get those transplants at the better places, that's always going to be a challenge. But anyway, I find the diversity to be my favorite thing about it. My least favorite is kind of back to what I said earlier, is when folks come in and don't really know what they're getting into. So that's always going to be one of the difficult parts of my job. But at the same time, I see that a challenge is fun, but it can be a struggle when the customer doesn't understand why we just can't do what they're asking us to do. So.
Yeah. And Ashley, how about you?
Might sound like a broken record here, but it's definitely the amount of different stuff I get to work on. I worked in a manufacturing plant for 3 years before I came here. And in a year and a half, I feel like I've already learned way more than I did there, because you're experiencing the same thing over and over. So I was an expert at that type of manufacturing and I knew everything going on in my plant, but that was the sky, that was the limit. I couldn't go anymore. And now I've gotten a little bit of everything already, and there's still like so much more that I can learn on my next project. And I'm just gonna, over the time I'm here, I'm just gonna like slowly build up this whole skill base, including actually like mechanical stuff, but also like Lindsey said, like the different, we use CAD packages. So I think we have like 4 different CAD packages that we use here. So all my projects have been on one so far, but I'm excited to learn another one as soon as that opportunity has presented itself too. And I don't know if it's least favorite, but the most different thing about the consulting that I had to get used to was time tracking. So since you are working by the hour for a client, you have to log your time by quarter hours. So just getting used to every day being like, at the end of the day, I'm like, what did I do for 8 hours today? Like, where'd the day go? Like, was I really looking at latches for 2 hours? I guess I was.
Oh, I forgot about that. That's a good one, Ashley. That is by far my least favorite thing too.
I can't imagine having to think through every 15 minutes of my day of like, okay, which project did I work on or what aspect of it? That is a lot.
It is.
Yeah,
but
you get used to it. You start lumping stuff together.
yeah,
Oh, good.
you get really good at it. But to Ashley's, I mean, that's how we make money, right? We sell hours, we sell time. So it's critically important for all of us to log our time, but it's hard to get used to.
Yeah. All right. So for the sake of time, we'll jump to our last question, which is, in your honest opinion, as a talented woman working for a STEM company, would you recommend Sigma Design as a supportive and great place for a woman to work? Why or why not? Erica, why don't we start with you?
Absolutely. I think Lindsey has a great story, kind of where she kind of came up through the ranks as a company. So obviously, there's a lot of opportunity. I don't think my boss, I've ever said, "Hey, I'm going to go do this," and he said no. We're always encouraged to try wild and crazy things, as long as it makes good business sense. They're relatively supportive. But no, I think overall Sigma is a great company for a female to work, and I'm very happy there. So yeah.
Awesome. How about you, Ashley?
Absolutely, yes. I have worked other places that are not as supportive of their women, and this place is wonderful to work for. Everyone that works here has been so nice and supportive. The variety of work is amazing for young engineers, old engineers. Like, you never stop learning here. I think it's a great place to work.
Great. And Lindsey? Oh, I agree with both Ashley and Erica. Absolutely, 100%. I think it's a fantastic place to work. I think it's a fantastic place for women to work. I wish I had more women on the engineering staff. I think we only have 4. Is that right, Ashley? I think we only have 4. So
yep.
Yeah, we have a lot of room for improvement there, but I am looking forward to helping make that change. We certainly aren't perfect, but what I love about Sigma is that we're always looking for those opportunities and to grow and to better ourselves and improve and narrow that gap. And that, to me, is what makes the difference.
Great. Thank you so much, Lindsey, Ashley, and Erica, for joining us today and talking to us about what it's like at Sigma. It sounds like a really exciting place and that you all are up to really great things. And we really appreciate your time today. Also, thank you to everyone who showed up live in person. I hope you enjoyed another panel in the Company Spotlight series. If you enjoyed this one or any of our previous ones, our next one will be in October with Sierra Olympic Technologies. They're in Hood River, Oregon, and we'll be talking about women communities in the workplace. Sierra Olympic has some communities established, and so we're going to see, what they did, what it's like, and how they're benefiting and how they're learning and growing from that community inside. So stay tuned for that in October. And if you are ready for our next in-person event, because many people have been very excited about us getting back to in-person, our next one is going to be at Sigma Design in Camas, and it's going to be our annual fall party. They've been very kind to not only donate the space for us to host that event, but also to help with all of the planning and everything that it takes to put on something like this. And so we're really grateful and excited and hope that you join us next month as we get to celebrate this community that we've started building this year and everything we have to look forward to come. Great. And with that, we will go ahead and end. Thank you so much, everyone. And we look forward to a great rest of the year.